Hey guys, it's Charles Oslin here, giving you a quick update in a way to a video that you're going to be watching right now, which has to do with sort of the philosophy behind practicing. In this case, is with wing foiling and jumping and doing 360s, but we filmed a video that we forgot to post in the end of May, and it was talking about practicing wing foiling on how to do jumps, how to do 360s, but more than just that, it was actually about how to practice, how to be open to being a student again and to be a newbie and learning something, which a lot of times people forget. You know, they just want to try something and get it right away and be a professional or be a pro. And this is not the case a lot of the times, especially deeper down the rabbit hole you go. So this video is essentially to give you a bit of context to about what you're about to see, that is mentioning this philosophy of practicing. It's mentioning jumping, it's mentioning 360s. It's showing you a little bit about how I think about practicing on land, and then also how to bring what you practice on land, sort of visualization exercises, to then put that onto the water. And right now, compared to when we were filming in May, the conditions are a lot better. We were filming with some bigger gear in terms of wings, and we actually didn't really land much of the 360s we tried, and the jumps looked a little bit quote-unquote lame. So we got a little bit more wind. We're pumping up the 4.5s. We got the Strike V3 brand new. We got the Strike V2, and we're gonna go out there. Yannick is right here, which we'll get him on camera. He's gonna appear in the sense that he's been also practicing 360s. So me and him, we're gonna go at it, do some jumps, do some 360s, see what we can get. No backflips yet, no front flips yet. That's to come in the future. But that's pretty much it. And as you can tell, this is July in Cabarete. This is 2023, the beginning of July, one day before July 4th. And you can tell it's windy. It's probably 15, 20 knots, maybe gusting a little bit higher out there, but perfect conditions to practice some freestyle, perfect conditions to mess a little bit around in the chop. It's a bit of a workout though to connect the waves, because sometimes the energy is not there. But it's a perfect time to get into wing foiling, learn even how to kiteboard. And if you're thinking to come down to Cabarete, I'd highly recommend it. But with no further ado, I'm gonna let you watch the video that we filmed in May, so you get some context to what I'm talking about. And the B-roll will be mixed between the 2 days. You're gonna see some crashes, you're gonna see some landings, and that's gonna be it. So in any case, guys, let me get geared up and see you in the water. Hey guys, it's Charles Oslin here with Liquid Blue Cabarete in Cabarete, Dominican Republic. And today behind me, we have an average Cabarete day. I'm not gonna say it is a legendary day, but it's definitely pretty good. You can see around 100 to 150 guys out there, and it's blowing roughly 14 to 17 knots steady with relatively flat conditions, with a little bit of waves in the reef actually. But today what I wanted to talk about is two tricks in specific that we're gonna be adding some footage to, which is wing foil jumps, strapped of course, as well as 360s. And not to say anything that I am a professional in terms of the freestyle side of wing foiling, though I have now started to dabble in it, and I thought it was interesting to sort of reflect a little bit on the learning process, because a lot of people just forget that you have to keep learning and you have to keep evolving with time, and that things don't generally come naturally. So whenever you're practicing, you're gonna be falling, you're gonna be eating doo-doo, and it's gonna be sometimes demotivating and even demoralizing, because you're just gonna keep getting punched in the face or getting put down when you think you're not progressing, but you're actually moving slowly closer to, let's say, perfection or learning something in reality. So here behind me, we're gonna be talking about jumping on wing foiling, and as well doing the 360 wing foiling. So whenever I'm practicing freestyle tricks, for sure, I wanna use an impact vest and I wanna use a helmet, right? If you're gonna be trying things out, you're gonna be messing around, you need to protect yourself, or else you're gonna wreck yourself, as the good old Wu-Tang Clan knew too well. So I'm not trying to wreck myself, but I am trying to have fun, and you might as well stay protected. So with that being said, here, in terms of practicing jumps or any sort of freestyle tricks, there is maybe a note in terms of equipment that I'm gonna add in right now, which is whenever you're gonna be jumping, you don't wanna use very big equipment. And when I mean big, it also means heavy. So this right here is a 4.8 44 liter F1 rocket wing V1, I believe. It might be the V2, but the V1. But the point is that it's 44 liters. It's small, it's relatively light. I got the straps on it, the Y straps from F1, and then the single back. And then in terms of the foil and the mast, well, you're gonna for sure, well, this is gonna also depend a little bit on where you're riding, but generally speaking, a 75 centimeter mast, 28 inches, or a 32 inch, 85 centimeter mast is probably gonna be the go-to range. You're most likely not gonna be using a 95, 100 centimeter or a meter long mast, and doing it on super short, I would almost say is only if the conditions are for that, in the sense that you're riding in a really shallow area and having a small foil, a short mast is gonna be for you. Now in terms of the actual plane, the foil plane, here I'm using a 1200 7Cs, but in reality, whenever you're jumping, whenever you're doing tricks, you're gonna wanna try to use as small as possible. And the reason is that generally when you have a small foil, you can get some good speed, and when you get, and on top of that, you can also come out of the water and come into the water easier. Now, sure, it might require a little bit more pumping, it might be a little bit more technical to a certain degree, but usually once you get into jumping and once you get into doing tricks, you're gonna be a little bit more of an intermediate advanced rider, and riding a foil around 1200, around 1000, around 800 is gonna be perfectly fine. Now, where you're gonna have to tailor that is to the wind conditions. You can't use a super small foil in super light conditions. It's gonna be a huge challenge. So there you're gonna have to scale it accordingly. But for the sake of conversation and moving forward, basically today I got a 15 knot steady day. Maybe it's gusting up to 17. I'm using a 44 liter board, 85 centimeter mast, 1200 front wing with an extra short stab on a regular recommended stabilizer. So in the end, this is pretty much a normal standard setup, nothing too crazy about it. I have my foil down here set up at 3 and at 3. And the reason why you don't want to set up your foil too far back is because you do want a little bit of lift. So you want to be somewhere in the middle and or forward for when you're going to be practicing some jumps and some tricks. If you're too far back, you're really gonna have to work a lot, and that's just gonna make it more difficult for yourself. So we wanna help ourselves out here. And in terms of the foot straps, what you're gonna wanna make sure, here I'm just gonna move this leash, is that you're gonna wanna make sure that your feet can slide nicely in and out. You definitely don't want the strap to be way too tight, because you wanted that if anything goes wrong, you could take your foot out, or that you could slide out. And generally speaking, you're gonna see in the footage, when you're jumping, when you're messing around, your feet stay pretty locked in, but you do want it pretty easy in and out access, or else you might be looking for a little bit of trouble of hurting your ankles and or hurting your toes, and you don't want to get hurt. So that's an adjustment there. And for some people, it takes a little bit of time to get used to, but in reality, you're gonna get used to it pretty quickly by just having enough space so your foot can slide easily in and out. Now in terms of the wing, here I got the brand new Strike V3, brand new for this year. A little bit sandy, because we've been here on the beach for a little bit of time. But what I'm gonna be doing here on the beach is I'm gonna sort of go down the way of how I see progressing tricks. What's important is that you wanna know what you're gonna get yourself into, right? So watching videos, seeing other people, this is a great way to start the process of visualization, let's say, or imagining what you're sort of getting into. And in this case, when we're getting jumping, there are, for example, locally, a few guys that are jumping here and there. But if you don't have anyone riding around at your spot locally, then you can watch YouTube, you can go on the internet, and you'll find a bunch of videos of people doing exactly that. So with that being said, once I'm here on the beach and I've already watched some videos, I've already been thinking about it, what I want to do is that I want to start doing a couple exercises or drills for myself. And right now we're talking about jumping in 360s, but generally speaking, you can do this for any trick. And you should be doing this, whether it's for wing foiling, whether it's for surfing. You want to try to train both on and off the water so that you're better prepared, because your mind is always thinking about these things and sort of developing itself to be prepared for what you're planning to throw at it. So right now, when I'm on the beach, if you're planning to get into jumping, you're most likely already a competent rider where you're comfortable going in and out, you understand the basics of foiling, and you also might have a little bit of a background in terms of pumping. We will talk about the board on how you want to position yourself on the board, but for now, we're just gonna play with the wing a little bit. So whenever I'm jumping, and this is gonna look a little bit funny, but I wanna imagine that I'm gonna be going and then I'm gonna be popping off and pulling down with my backhand. And there, even though I don't go that high, I do feel a little bit of that pull whenever the gust is there. And this is sort of my process of just messing around on the beach, deciding which way I'm gonna be jumping. I'm gonna be jumping coming into shore, but let me even practice a little bit coming out. So here I feel it. All right, not too much wind right here on the shoreline to get me lifted up completely off the sand and flying, but enough to give me an idea of what's happening here. So in any case, we're live. We're live. All good? Woo! Woo! How's it going?
Up? Good.
Good?
Yeah, I just got here.
You brought a dog as well?
No, it's mine.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, she's cute. She's good. All right, Dave, see you. Yeah. All righty there. So in any case, once we're out here on the beach and we're visualizing what we're doing, then we're just practicing it out. And for the jumping, it might look a little bit lame, but now when we're practicing the 360s, this is a bit more of a technical trick. The jumping is gonna be simply riding with speed. Once we're on the board, we're gonna be pressing down on the nose and then putting all our weight on the back foot. And you already see how I'm sort of lifting off, and that's what it's gonna be. I'm just gonna be lifting off into the air and jumping, and then spotting my landing and going back down. We're gonna go a little bit more in depth in that. But with the 360s, for example, this is a mind bender, because how do I do a 360 on shore and replicate it so that it's easy to have the closest idea of what it's actually like on the water? And of course, jumping with the board is gonna be a little bit tricky. There's some guys that do that. But what I've found for myself in terms of practicing this 360 is that I know that the motion is, I'm gonna have to spin this wing around, right? But already, just being a wing foiler, I know that if I spin this wing like this, the wing's gonna come behind me and all weird. So I gotta really be quick and commit, even though this is here on the beach. So basically, what I've been doing for practicing my 360s is that I imagine I'm riding, I'm building up some speed, and as I'm riding, I'm gonna pop off, I'm gonna go toe side in the air, because I'm gonna be spinning, and then I'm gonna have to bring the wing around. So doing that in full motion, basically what it's gonna look like is that I'm going, I'm popping, toe side, and then spinning. And you see I lost a little bit of balance there, but this motion is sort of the key to getting my mind around what is happening. And with the 360, to be specific, where a lot of the help and where the trick comes into is that we want to be popping off, getting high, and as we're coming down is when we're going to try to complete the spin for now. We're not at the level yet where we're throwing the spin right off the bat, right in the beginning, because that's a full power version. And this goes back to doing baby steps. Whenever you're learning anything, don't be afraid to do baby steps into it, because if you go all out, you might hurt yourself, you might not be really understanding what you're getting yourself into. And for now here, what we want to do is safely get ourselves into doing this sort of advanced freestyle trick, or intermediate freestyle. So that being said, with the 360, it's a combination of doing the jump, which is the first trick we've been learning, right? So now the wind is sort of coming in. So we're doing the jump, but now we're gonna be combining that, the jump with the 360 at the end. So we're gonna pop, whoop, turn, and there we go. So there, I'm sort of having an idea that when I'm gonna be on the water, I'm really gonna have to stabilize myself. I am getting pulled a little bit forward, so I'm gonna have to correct that. And with my backhand, what I wanna make sure is that I don't bring my backhand too high, but instead, I keep my backhand nice and low towards my hip with my front hand somewhat extended and bring it around my head. So let's give that one more time. So I'm gonna jump, spin, and there was a lot smoother. So that's the benefit of being on the water or on the land, is that you can safely start messing around, getting your head into it. Because I tell you right now, to be on the water and go from never practicing this on shore to starting to bring your wing into the wind is gonna be a challenge for even some of the best riders out there. So it's good to start practicing and visualizing this on the land before applying it to the water. And you see, I'm going to the extent of, I'm imagining I'm getting some speed, and then when I'm popping and bringing my feet over, I'm actually doing this motion to be thinking about it, because at one point in time, my board will be reversed, and as I'm in the air falling down, I am going to have to spin around. And if I do it half-heartedly, let's see what happens. Right? Doesn't really look that good. Doesn't even feel that good. So when I do give it a shot though, for real, let's see, 1, 2, 3, boom. I could probably do that in the water a little bit. Use the wing in the water to balance myself, correct myself, but we'll see. Ideally, I wanna get it perfect and land it efficiently. So we're gonna give it one more try just here on the land, see if we can get it nicely done. But this visualization part, there's no limit to how many times you have to do something or how many times you have to try something. It's whatever you think is right. And in this case, I've already been practicing this before off camera, and I do feel like now I just need to go into the water to be applying it. But this can be great to practice both directions, because for sure I know once I start practicing the other way, I'm gonna have to do this again. But now I wanna just get one side of it down. So let's see, pop, pop, down. All right, 1, 2, and I'm gonna remember also to breathe, combine my breathing with this. So 1, 2. All right, so I'm feeling that the wing is doing very well. It's being very nice with me, let's say, when I really have that backhand pulled into my hip and that front hand sort of extended but over my head. Let me just do that one more time. All right, so there I got a rough idea of what I'm trying to do for myself. And what I see with a lot of people when they're trying to practice tricks, they don't spend any time or very little time on shore actually practicing it. There's so much benefit from being here on the beach, messing around, because this is a safe way to practice anything. And a lot of times I see people going out there and they might try a trick once or twice, but after one bad crash, they essentially give up. They say, oh no, this is too dangerous for me. I'm not gonna do it anymore. And it is true. Anything you start doing in the intermediate or advanced side runs a risk in any sport. But if you practice, if you think about it, then you can sort of start at least a basic foundation to start building yourself off of that. And for now in the world of wing foiling, after we're already riding, we already considered that, we want to start jumping. From jumping, once we start feeling comfortable doing that, we could then move on to other maneuvers and other tricks. And the next, or one of them that's logical, is gonna be the 360. So in any case, we're gonna go into the water, we're gonna try this out, we're gonna first see the basic jumping, and then we're also gonna see the 360s in action. Going back to it, I might land them, I might not land them, but the part is to be practicing it. And as you start practicing, eventually you're gonna get better and better, you're gonna be more and more consistent. But if you don't practice it, then of course nothing's gonna happen for you, and you're just gonna stagnate and be at the same level. And to just give one more tip in terms of practicing is that what I like to do if I'm focusing on practicing whatever maneuver it is, whether it's kiteboarding, wing foiling, even moto riding, is that I'm going to try to do it on a certain routine, let's say. So you don't want to just do it randomly, you actually want to focus on doing it. So a lot of times I like to do that every single tack in, let's just say, because I'm doing it in this direction, my jumps and my 360s, I'm gonna try a maneuver. And then if I land it, great, I ride away. And if I don't land it, I fall, I reset, and then I keep riding. But it's always good to sort of play a game with yourself of how you decide to practice. But you need to actively be practicing. You can't just passively be doing it, because then, like I said, you're gonna be riding at the same level for years and years to come. And it's fun to practice and to get better, because then it gets the sport more interesting. And whatever level you can get to is the level you can get to, but it's great to keep leveling up. So with that being said, guys, we're gonna be moving onto the water and we're gonna go from there. If you have any questions, if you have any thoughts or comments, make sure to always drop them in the comment section below. But already this entire video, the idea is just to wrap our minds around actively practicing might be the best way. And that doesn't matter what level you're at. Right now we're talking about jumps, we're talking about 360s, but this could be anything from pumping, this could be anything from learning how to catch waves, this can be anything at all. It can be applied to whatever. And the important part of it is to just keep pushing forward. And with that being said, guys, we're gonna head out into the water. I'm gonna get all of my gear set up and let's see what happens. I'm excited. It's a perfect day. I just got off the water and we were filming a jumping slash 360 slash practicing video. And while I was out on the water, you're gonna see some of this B-roll that we're gonna be playing. I unfortunately today didn't land any 360s. The conditions shifted a little bit now after we got into water, after we were done filming. And not to use that as an excuse, it's great to practice in rougher conditions, but unfortunately I didn't land any. You're gonna see some here. But I did do some jumps. And what I wanted to just sort of note on that I didn't mention in the first part of the video is that when you're gonna be learning how to jump and do 360s, you're gonna want to avoid using a waist leash or a leash around your ankle. The only time, well actually I wouldn't even say the only time, there's no time to consider that. I would definitely recommend always doing it without a leash just in case anything goes wrong. You'll see some of the crashes that if you had a leash and for some reason you fell out of the board or whatever and the board follows you, it could get pretty gnarly. So it's best to avoid using a leash when you're learning how to do freestyle jumps. The time where I do use a leash is in the waves, though going back to it, it is also tricky because now you have a leash to your wrist or to your waist and another leash to your ankle or to your waist, so two leashes, and there things can get tangled. I've only had it happen once where the foil went into the wing and ripped the wing a little bit, but I have had other close calls, so it's just something to consider there. One thing we want to talk about in regards to jumping foiling, what you really want to do and focus on, which I didn't mention while we were doing some beach demonstrations, is that you really want to power up. So more you power up, more speed you build, sort of the better stability you're going to have, and also the more power you're going to be able to deliver into the jump. So when you're powered up, right? So I'm going in this direction, powered up, I'm really gonna have a lot of weight on my front foot to keep that foil down, and I'm gonna be riding my foil pretty high off of the water. And then when I'm ready to jump, I'm going to want to really push my weight down, keeping my wing pretty stable. I can scoop it a little bit, but really pressing my weight down and then pushing off with my back foot and really throwing that wing to fill it up with power and make it give me some lift. And then from there, ideally you want to tighten up your core. Sometimes you can come a little bit smaller so your feet don't dangle all around, but you get a little bit compacted, stable, and then you're gonna spot your landing and you're gonna try to dive. You're gonna try to dive that foil into the water, and then as it's touching the water, you already want to be taking some weight off of the front, putting weight on the back to sort of re-stabilize it so that you don't pop in and then pop right back out, or pop in and stay into the water and just nosedive. So these are some things to consider when you're gonna be learning how to jump. What I highly recommend is watch some of this B-roll that we're adding in. Watch other videos out there that go more in depth. This video in general, we are talking about jumping, winging, and doing some 360s, messing around, but the bigger point was to learn how to practice. Embrace the suck, as some would say, and just practice, no matter what level you're at, and have fun while you're doing it, and stay safe. So that's that for this video. There are maybe some details that we could have mentioned, though this is also the part of learning, that you want to do your own research. You want to figure things out, and don't just take one source. Try to get multiple sources or multiple videos, or read whatever it might be, or photos, just to get an idea. And then the best thing, and if you have this luxury, if you have other riders around you that are at a higher level, ask them questions, look at what they're doing, try to ride with them. That's how you're gonna improve. So that's it, guys. The wind is shifting a little bit. We have a little bit of cloud cover. We're still not into the summer mode, so we're having some rainy days. It is late May, but right now we don't have any rain, we just have a little bit of cloud cover, and that made it that the wind was shifting a little bit during the session. But all in all, it was a fun session. I had a blast. And like I said, I didn't land any 360s this time, but I did get close, and I have landed some before. I'm usually a wave rider anyways. I love playing in the swell, but now it's summertime, and it's gonna be getting windier and windier, flatter and flatter, so I'm gonna be practicing those freestyle tricks. Hopefully by the end of the summer, I'm gonna get that front flip, I'm gonna get that back flip, even though it looks totally insane. But I know that by pushing myself and also riding with others that want to push themselves, we're gonna have a blast doing it. So it's gonna be exciting to see what comes and what happens from all of this. But just remember, whenever you're practicing, stay safe, make sure you're using the right equipment, because in this case, when you get a little bit more advanced or intermediate, the equipment does play a little bit of a role. Even me, I'm pushing it with a 1200 front wing, probably 1000 would be better, but it's not that it's impossible. So it's just things to consider though. Try to set yourself up for success essentially, but also work with what you get and what you got. So without anything else to be said, this is Cabarete Bay. As you can tell, there's still some guys out. I had fun today, and my name is Charles Osselin with Liquid Blue Cabarete in Cabarete. And I'm gonna leave you with a view, as always, of Cabarete Bay.